Somewhere in India, right now, there is a man walking. He has been walking for over 5,000 years. He cannot stop. He cannot rest. He cannot die. His wound never heals. His body never ages. His suffering never ends. He was cursed by Krishna himself, condemned to walk this earth until the end of time, carrying the weight of what he did one terrible night after the greatest war in history. A doctor in Madhya Pradesh once treated a patient with a wound on his forehead that would not stop bleeding no matter what he did. The patient refused to give his name and disappeared from the clinic before morning. His name, people whispered, was Ashwatthama. And this is his story. Ashwatthama was not born ordinary. At the moment of his birth, he let out a cry that sounded like the neighing of a divine celestial horse. A voice from the heavens named him then and there. He was the son of Dronacharya, the greatest teacher of warfare in history, the man who trained both the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And from birth, Ashwatthama carried something no other warrior had. A divine gem embedded in the centre of his forehead, a gem that gave him power over every living being, that protected him from hunger, thirst, and fear. He grew up beside Arjuna and Duryodhana. He mastered weapons that could destroy armies. He was given knowledge of the Brahmastra, a weapon so powerful it could end the world itself. By every measure, Ashwatthama should have been remembered as one of the greatest heroes in history. But rage has a way of destroying everything, even greatness. The Kurukshetra war was the bloodiest conflict the ancient world had ever seen. 18 days, millions dead, gods watching from the sky. Ashwatthama fought on the side of the Kauravas, fiercely, brilliantly, without mercy. But on the 15th day, something broke inside him. The Pandavas spread a lie on the battlefield. They announced that Ashwatthama was dead, knowing it would reach Dronacharya's ears. When the greatest teacher in the world heard that his son had fallen, he stopped fighting. He laid down his weapons. He sat in meditation. And in that moment of a father's grief, he was killed, defenseless, betrayed by a lie. When Ashwatthama found out what had happened to his father, something inside him died too. What replaced it was far more dangerous than grief. It was rage, pure, absolute, uncontrollable rage. That night, after the war had officially ended, Ashwatthama did something that has never been forgiven. He entered the Pandava camp at midnight, while everyone was sleeping. What he did next violated every rule of warfare, every code of honor, every principle his father had ever taught him. He killed Drishtadyumna, the man who'd beheaded his father. He killed Shikhandi. He killed warrior after warrior as they slept, defenseless, unarmed, unable to fight back. And then, in the darkest act of his life, he killed the 5 young sons of the Pandavas. Children, sleeping. He thought they were the Pandavas. He was wrong, but he did not stop. The camp ran red, and Ashwatthama walked out into the night, believing he had finally avenged his father. He had not found peace. He had only found a deeper darkness. When the Pandavas discovered what Ashwatthama had done, they hunted him down. Cornered, desperate, and still burning with rage, Ashwatthama did the unthinkable. He released the Brahmastra, the most destructive weapon in existence. A weapon so powerful that the Mahabharata describes it as capable of destroying creation itself. He aimed it not at warriors, not at armies, but at Uttara, a pregnant woman, the last heir of the Pandava line. He wanted to end their bloodline completely, to wipe them from existence forever. The universe itself reacted. Sages screamed that the weapon would destroy the world. Arjuna released his own Brahmastra to counter it. And then Krishna intervened. Krishna looked at Ashwatthama, and what he said next has echoed across 5,000 years. You attacked sleeping men. You killed children. You aimed the most powerful weapon in existence at an unborn child. You have committed sins that cannot be washed away, not in this lifetime, not in any lifetime. Krishna revived the unborn child, who would grow up to be Parikshit, the last king of the Pandava line. And then he turned back to Ashwatthama. The divine gem was torn from his forehead. The wound left behind would never heal. And then came the curse that changed everything. You will wander this earth alone for 3,000 years, some say until the end of Kali Yuga itself. You will find no shelter, no company, no love, no peace. Your wound will never heal. Your body will never die. Your suffering will never end. You, who took life so carelessly, will be denied the one thing every living being is eventually granted: the mercy of death. Ashwatthama stood up. The gem was gone. The wound bled. And somewhere in his eyes, something went completely dark. He walked into the forest, and he has not stopped walking since. And then come the stories, the ones that make you pause. Villagers near the Narmada River, especially around Burhanpur and Omkareshwar in Madhya Pradesh, have spoken for generations of a tall, mysterious man who appears and disappears, who has a wound on his forehead that never heals, who speaks to no one, who wants nothing. A doctor once reported treating a patient with an unusual wound on his forehead. No medicine worked, no stitching held. The wound simply would not close. When the doctor jokingly asked if he was Ashwatthama, the patient stood up and walked out. He was never seen again. A former Indian Air Force pilot known as Pilot Baba claimed to have seen Ashwatthama in the foothills of the Himalayas, living among tribes, offering prayers at a Shiva temple every single day. Are these stories true? Nobody knows. Nobody can prove them. But nobody can fully dismiss them either. Here is what the Mahabharata wants us to understand about Ashwatthama. Immortality is not a gift. Every culture on earth has dreamed of living forever, of cheating death, of watching the centuries pass while remaining unchanged. Ashwatthama is what that actually looks like. He watched the Mahabharata era end. He watched civilizations rise and fall. He watched languages die, kingdoms crumble, gods be forgotten. And through all of it, his wound bled, his body ached, and there was no one left who remembered who he was. No friends, no family, no purpose, no peace, no death. The Mahabharata uses Ashwatthama to ask one of the most profound questions in all of literature. Is immortality without peace, without purpose, without love? Is that a life? Or is it simply the longest possible punishment? According to Hindu tradition, as one of the 7 Chiranjeevis, Ashwatthama is believed to be alive and wandering the earth until the end of Kali Yuga. Somewhere out there, in the forests of Madhya Pradesh, or the foothills of the Himalayas, or the banks of the Narmada River, there may be a man walking. A man with a wound that will not heal. A man who has seen 5,000 years of human history. A man who committed the worst act of his life in one night of rage and has been paying for it every single day since. He is not evil. He was never simply evil. He was a son who loved his father too much, a warrior who lost control at the worst possible moment. And the question the Mahabharata leaves us with is not whether Ashwatthama is still alive. The question is, what would you do with 5,000 years of regret? This has been Shrunoti, ancient Indian stories told the way they were meant to be heard. If Ashwatthama's story made you think, subscribe, share it with someone, and come back next week, because there are thousands more stories waiting. Each one will change the way you see the world.